In a video I made recently, I talked a little bit about how my views have changed on the subject of giving money to homeless people, or at the very least people who are asking for money on the street, and how I'm a little bit more generous and open-minded than I used to be. But I also realized that there were some things that I could have covered in my last video and I didn't, so this is sort of a companion piece to that, where I'm going to talk about some of the stupidest liberal virtue signaling BS arguments that I've heard for why you should give money to homeless people. None of these have really come from famous people. They're mostly things I've seen floating around Twitter, which is such a gold mine for truly terrible takes. So I'm just going to share them with you, and maybe you will get some amusement out of them or appreciate a little bit of analysis on them. Reason number one is give a homeless person money rather than food or information about a service or homeless shelter or anything like that, so that that person can go to McDonald's and sit inside in the warmth or the air condition and shelter from the elements for a while they nurse a Coke. I don't know why that particular phrasing stuck out to me. It just seems so like weirdly amateur writing-ish, but I remember the person who was posting about this on Twitter like particularly said, give them money so they can go to McDonald's and nurse a Coke. And I guess just hang out at a table for a while. And the reason why I think this is a stupid idea is because, as far as I know, McDonald's will still let you sit at one of their tables if someone else buys your Coke for you, or if you buy a McDonald's meal or Coke off a McDonald's gift card. Like, I don't know why this connection of McDonald's can be a safe place for someone with nowhere to go to just hang out for a bit. Like, why that is connected to give cash instead of some other form of gift or contribution. Because I've been the person in a situation where I've literally been in a McDonald's and someone comes up to me and asks for money to buy food. And in those couple of situations, I've said, we're in a McDonald's, how about I just buy you some food? And that person was like, okay, yeah, this is also acceptable to me. So, I mean, if you're a little bit hesitant to give people cash, but you are open to the idea of buying them a McDonald's meal so they can have something to eat and also hang out in a safe environment for a bit, like, by all means, just buy them some McDonald's. The second reason, and by far the stupidest one of the three, is don't look down on a homeless person for buying booze with the money you give them, because they might need something to keep them warm on the street at night when it's freezing cold outside. And this is like, it's really sad. It's not even funny, because booze does not actually help you avoid freezing. It gives you a false sense of warmth. It sends warmth away from your heart and your internal organs and towards your skin, so you feel a little bit warmer, at least temporarily, but you know, you really need the body heat to protect your internal organs. That is the priority, and that is why your body will even prioritize those over your limbs feeling warm. So if you think a homeless person is going to use your cash to buy booze on a freezing cold night, then like give them a blanket or like hand warmers, those little things that you can just activate and they'll stay warm for a couple hours, or like a scarf or like some socks or mittens so they can at least keep their extremities warm. That'll do them more good than the booze. And yeah, those things will help them sleep on the streets, but also something that's really helpful for you not freezing on the streets is a bed in a shelter. And there are problems with homeless shelters for sure. Someone could steal your stuff. There could be scary people who are rowdy and not that stable, and you don't want to like be in the same space with them. Or you could even be at risk of being separated from your family if the shelter is segregated by gender. Those are all real problems, but like booze is not the answer to that particular problem. And the final reason is the one I've seen the most often, which is that you should stop and give money to homeless people because it must be so degrading and so awful and so just horribly shameful for them to be on the sidewalk with their cardboard signs asking people walking by for help. And I see where this argument is coming from because I see that the people who bring this up are really trying to show some empathy to say, look, put yourself in that person's shoes. How would you feel holding up this sign, asking for any help at all, and so many people are just walking by and not even looking at you and acknowledging you as your person? That would kind of suck. And I get that, but then when they really come down on the idea that it is shameful and degrading, I'm like, is this mind reading? How do you know what is going on inside the head of that person? Because you're not them. What if you actually approached some dude with a cardboard sign and you're like, oh man, I'm really sorry that you have to stand out here. That must be like such an awful, degrading thing. And he's like, I don't know, I've worked retail on Black Friday and this is still a step up from that. Like, I use that example because I worked retail on Black Friday and people really do treat you like shit when you're working retail, but that is a completely different story. Would you not give that guy $1 then if he has neutral feelings towards being on the street with a cardboard sign? Like, is shame something that he has to perform for you in order to be worthy of your charity? For me, whatever the person is feeling on the inside with regards to being in that situation is a separate thing from whether or not they need help. They may have very negative feelings, they may have neutral feelings, but in both cases, they may need help. And it's not really for me to try to figure out what's going on inside their head because I can't do that because I am not a mind reader. I think what really makes me uncomfortable about this line of argument is that it feels like projection. It feels like the person saying it really is looking down on these people and thinking that what they're doing is really degrading and shameful, and oh my god, I would just die inside if I was the one with the cardboard sign outside the Target asking for anything that would help. Thank God that's not me. I'd better give some money to reaffirm to myself that I am the charity giving person, not the charity taking person. And I don't know, there's something a little bit patronizing about that, and a little bit more pity and a little bit more distancing than showing empathy, which is what I think they are trying to do, but maybe there's a little bit of prejudice that's getting mixed in with that. And in one sense, I think it doesn't really matter, you know, just like I can't read a homeless person's mind, a homeless person can't read my mind. So as long as they're getting their dollars that they can use to buy food or whatever they need to get them to the next day, then I say, even if you're a total patronizing ass, it's better for you to stop than to not stop. But I don't know, I try not to give into like those feelings of, over the top pity. And I think maybe it's more helpful to emphasize the common humanity rather than spending a lot of time thinking about how awful that person must have it. So anyway, this was me harping on some liberal BS that annoys me, and hopefully it gave you some food for thought. It's definitely things that I had to consider and work through as I was forming my own viewpoint on the concept of charity and when to give and how and like what's the most healthy attitude to have about it. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching.